I'd like to call to order this special meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores. Good evening, everyone. The first item of business is the call of the roll, and we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I will call your names and please say here. So Mayor Charbonneau.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Matheson.
Here.
Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt.
Here.
Councillor Carr.
Here.
Councillor Grace.
Here.
Councillor Myatt.
Here.
Councillor Rich.
Here.
Councillor Schreider.
Here.
Councillor Smith.
Here.
And to test the microphones, we also have staff. So CIO David Smith.
Here.
Chief Financial Officer Daniel Waiter.
Here.
Director of Corporate Services Sue Murray.
Here.
And myself, Clerk Linda White. We also have Deputy Clerk Tracy Edwards, who's logged on as our system administrator. So Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum and may proceed.
Thank you. And we'll just recognize before we get started this momentous occasion, the very first time that Saugeen Shores Council has met remotely. So just thought we shouldn't pass that by without recognizing it. It's a new era. So we have no, well, I shouldn't say that. Item number 2 is disclosures of pecuniary interest. Are there any pecuniary interests to declare? Seeing none, of course, you can declare one anytime if you need to. Next is additions, deletions, amendments. We don't have any of those. So that moves us all the way down to reports of municipal officers. And the first report is a staff report on financial relief for residents due to the impact of COVID-19. And we'll ask the Director of Corporate Services for the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It will be the treasurer.
Okay.
As everyone is aware, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a major effect on our local economy. Municipalities throughout Ontario and throughout Bruce County have begun to implement financial relief measures for residents. In coming up with this recommendation, staff looked at the range of measures that were being put in place and being discussed in other local and provincial regions. Staff have tried to balance the interests of those facing financial hardships with the interests of all taxpayers, as well as ensure that the municipality is able to meet its own financial obligations. This recommendation does not change any due dates. Staff plan to proceed with water and sewer billing and property tax billing as scheduled, and are continuing to process payments that are received and that are scheduled.
Okay, thank you. We have a recommendation. I'll read it and then we can take questions or comments. It's recommended that council suspend penalties on 2020 property taxes for 90 days from the original due date of May 21st, that the treasurer is authorized to match the County of Bruce policy for the August 20th due date if the County of Bruce extends their due date for payments for the third installment, that council suspend penalties on water and sewer billing for 90 days past the original due date for the billing cycles due April 30th and June 30th, and that all non-sufficient funds NSF charges be waived until September 30th, 2020. Questions or comments from members of council? The Vice Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Daniel, through you to Daniel, just to clarify for members of the public again, the due dates of May 21st, August 20th, I mean, if your taxes are due on May 21st, your payment is still going to come out of your account on May 21st. This is really about penalties. That's my first question. My second point is that in the second point in the recommendation, you talk about the treasurer is authorized to match the County of Bruce policy for the August 20th due date if County of Bruce extends their due date for payments in the third installment. Could you explain that second clause, please? And I'm correct about the due dates. If people still pay their taxes on the due dates, is about penalties, correct?
Yes, that is correct. The due dates are remaining the same, and anyone signed up for a pre-authorized payment, the payment will still come out on that date. Residents are encouraged to still pay on that date.
Great. Okay, thanks, Danny. But the second point, what is the purpose of that?
So that recommendation, we have received word that the county may be putting their own measures in place to potentially alter the dates that lower tier municipalities will be paying their levies to the county for the county portion of property taxes. So if that were to happen for the third installment that's due later in the year, that would provide Saugeen Shores with some flexibility on what it would be able to offer residents. I'm not ready to make a recommendation on exactly what those measures would be on the third installment. And that's why this recommendation, for the most part, only has a hard and clear recommendation for the second property tax installment.
Okay, thanks, Dan. And again, the August 20th date, still due date if it comes off your bank account. It's really all about the payment to the county then.
That's, yeah, it's about the penalty that would potentially apply to residents and when we would submit the portion to the county.
Good. Thanks for clarifying.
Councillor Grace.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is for CAO Smith, and it's really just a request for you to explain to the public. It's not about, it's about a form of relief and support, and that's the announcement that came out today about bag tags, because I know members of the public have been, some members have contacted me with concerns about that. And so our town, or the municipality made an announcement about that today, and I wondered if you would elaborate on that, please.
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. And while I'm able to, I'll also build on what Dan was saying and provide some clarity, additional clarity potentially for the Vice Deputy Mayor's question. Is the tax payments are scheduled to come out. People that have signed up for pre-authorized payments, they will come out. People do have options though of turning that switch off. If they're in financial hardship, they can turn the switch off and we won't, those payments or those debits don't come out automatically. So it's a choice for people to make. We encourage those that can to continue with their regular payments. If they don't pay it, this goes into effect. Or if they turn off their pre-authorized payment, this goes into effect. So we've really put the control back into the individual property owner. So, and to answer Councillor Grace's question, today that we launched a program, it's designed specifically for people that cannot get out of their homes. They are in quarantine and are unable to get out, or if there's some other extraordinary circumstances that they can't get out of their homes to get bag tags. We have a program in place where town staff will deliver bag tags at no charge to people, and we'll deliver two tags, and we ask them to make an online contribution, charitable contribution to a charity of their choice, such as the food banks.
Okay. Further questions or comments from members of council? I don't see any, so I forgot to ask for mover and seconder. Do I have a mover and seconder for the resolution? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Smith. Okay, all in favor? That's carried. Okay, that moves us then on to the information report on the 2019 council remuneration and expenses. I don't know, is there any member of staff wish to speak to that, or are we just, is that just there for any questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Mayor, that's just for questions or comments, and Dan is able to answer any of those questions.
Okay, Councillor Mayette.
A clarification, under the on the bottom section of the remuneration schedule, it shows a Patrick Gibbons on the Police Services Board. And I wonder if that shouldn't be Pat O'Connor. We don't have a Pat Gibbons on our board.
I think it got confused between, because Pat Gibbons is on the Committee of Adjustment, right? And Pat O'Connor is on the Police Services Board? Or no?
Pat O'Connor is on the Police Services Board, yes.
But Pat O'Connor is up there. Oh, I see. I see what happened. Sorry, I'm confused. Yeah, they just got the name wrong on that last one.
Yeah.
Sorry, they are both included in the report. Patrick Gibbons perhaps a former member of the Police Services Board, because it is just a small, okay. It's from a past, it's a payment that would have been processed early in 2019 for some outstanding service of one of those committees.
I suspect it's Committee of Adjustment.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm sure that can be corrected, but good eye, Dave. Thanks for picking that up. Any other questions from anybody about that? I don't see any, so that's just there for your information. Just before we move on to concluding the meeting, I might just ask the CAO if he has any comments for council, perhaps a bit of an update with regard to our ongoing declared emergency and the municipality's response to COVID-19.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Town staff are continuing to focus on and provide essential services, and we're doing that capably and ably as we are able. Those services are changing over time. Each week, something different is emerging. An example would be this week, residents will see our public works staff are out doing road maintenance. With all of the essential services that the province has decreed, there has not been a change to our minimum road maintenance standards. So we are obligated, and we should be obligated to maintain those. So we are starting road grading. We are starting things like that to make sure that our community remains safe. Those services will change as the season progresses, but we are working on with a reduced staffing and focusing on essential services.
Very good. I might just, I'll make a comment or two myself, and then I guess if there are any questions from the committee, we can certainly hear those and do our best to answer them as well. I just wanted to let council know that I've been speaking with officials in every public agency involved with the response to COVID-19, and I can assure you that we have a very robust response going on locally and regionally, public health, with some tremendous support. And I think we should acknowledge it here, with some tremendous support from Bruce Power, is standing up a really robust, and I would have to say very proactive local response, and to be prepared for the worst. We hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, and that's exactly what's happening locally. The County of Bruce as well is doing some great work. You'll have seen a couple of road signs go up in Port Elgin and Southampton last week. That's the work of the County of Bruce. That's just a small example of the incredible work that they're doing. And of course, the staff of the town of Saugeen Shores, we continue to provide core and essential services to the municipality. Our staff is responding just as we would hope and expect them to, in an extremely professional and effective way, doing exactly what we need them to do, which is to provide those important services to our community. And certainly, if any of them are watching, and certainly some of them are here on the line, they have council's thanks for that work. I just wanted to note, and for anybody watching, members of council know this well, but as the Premier has said in the last number of days, we're entering a pretty serious period in this COVID-19 situation. We're going to see the effects of this roll out across our province in a pretty dramatic way, and we've seen what those numbers look like thanks to the province's release late last week. And there's been a series of provincial orders. A new set of orders came out late last week. Folks will have noticed that a couple of things, local impacts have been the shutdown of seasonal tourist camps, except for those folks for whom those are their only homes in Canada. But in terms of recreational use, seasonal tourist camps are shut down, as well as seasonal rentals or rentals after the 5th of April. Those rentals are now prohibited by the province of Ontario. So there's been a couple of changes like that, which is going to have an impact locally and reduce the amount of transient people coming into the community going forward, but also a series of other significant reductions in the number of essential services that are permitted to proceed in the province of Ontario. But I think it's important to drive home. Those are important orders, and they're being enforced in the town of Saugeen Shores, and they will be enforced robustly. I was speaking to the chief of police earlier today, and I can assure you that he is enforcing them robustly, getting excellent compliance. And I think it's a credit to the people of the community that no charges have been laid under any of those orders as of now, as far as I'm aware, at least at least up to this afternoon. And that's because the people are complying. And that tells you what kind of community we have, a community that is taking this seriously, as they ought to. But I just wanted to make the point finally that no number of provincial orders, no action by government is going to stop this thing, right? It's going to take action by every single individual doing the common sense thing, the right thing, staying at home, washing your hands, isolating yourself if you're sick, not traveling anywhere, listening to public health. That's what it's going to take. No action by this council, no action by the province or the federal government or anybody else can make this happen and make the curve bend the way we want it to. Only action by every one of us and every person in the community and every person everywhere can make that happen. We have a strong community that will do that. They are complying. We urge them, this council and the municipality urges them all to continue to comply. And so long as we do that, we will get through this. So questions from members of council, or comments that any of you have to make. Councilor Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. We've been, as Vice Deputy Mayor Myatt knows, we've been busy with our fish hatcheries lately, trying to dispose of as many swimming residents as we can over the next little while to reduce the exposure for our volunteers. But there was quite a few questions about the status of the boat launching facilities that we have around town and whether or not they're available. Different municipalities have taken different approaches. I know South Bruce Peninsula has unequivocally closed all of their harbors and boat launch facilities. I think Kincardine has done the same, but there was somebody saying that they thought the Port Elgin boat launch was open. Can somebody take a stab at clarifying that?
The CAO.
Yeah, I can comment on that. The provincial essential services list is subject to some local interpretation, and the medical officer of health has an office and a hotline, and we are funneling all of our questions in through that hotline and getting an interpretation from the local medical officer of health. So once we have that, we will take action to close it or to keep it open as recommended by that office.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I don't see any. All right, so that moves us then on to the confirmatory bylaw, and I have a resolution that the bylaws 26/2020, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 6th day of April 2020. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Rich. All in favor? That's carried. Finally, I have a motion that this special council meeting of April 6, 2020 hereby adjourns at 6:50 p.m. Mover and seconder, Schreider and Smith. All in favor? That's carried. We stand adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.